What is going on, everyone? It's Brody back again with another tennis topic, and today's tennis topic is going to be talking about the differences between multi-filament strings and synthetic gut strings. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through synthetic gut here first, and then we'll talk about multi-filaments here later, comparing the two and what each one is going to do in your racket and why you may or may not want to actually use this string. So let's get started. So first up, we have synthetic gut. So synthetic gut is going to be arguably the cheapest and most inexpensive string to get put into your racket. If you're looking to put synthetic gut into there, you're usually looking at about $3.95 to $7 at most per pack. I haven't really seen many synthetic guts above that. So that's right around where you should be looking to actually just pay for the string to get it put into your racket. So once it is in your racket, it does tend to be a little bit harder on the arm. So most people, if you're just coming into tennis or if you're brand new or if you've been playing for a while, sometimes the synthetic guts can be a little bit hard on the arm. They can be a little bit stiff depending on which ones you look at. Some of them can be a little bit easier, but they do tend to come in different gauges, some being 16 gauge, some being 17 gauge. You can work around which one works best for you based off what you prefer, but the synthetic gut just tends to be a little bit stiff, so it's a little bit hard on the arm, especially if you've never played before. So that's why some people don't tend to prefer it compared to multi-filaments, which we'll talk about later. And then the synthetic guts, they don't tend to hold tension that well. Usually if you're playing and you've been playing for a while, or if you've just been playing relatively recent, you've been playing once a week or maybe every other week, even though that the string does not lose tension that much in terms of just like if you leave it sit, when you actually play a synthetic gut, it tends to play very well for like the first, some people will get a good hour or two out of it. Some people can get 3 or 4. After that though, it's pretty much shot, it's done, dead, doesn't feel that good anymore. So you have to be very careful about how long you're playing and how often you're playing, especially using synthetic gut. As well as not holding tension too well, there's not much effect or really much effect to the playability of the ball. You're not going to be putting a lot of spin onto the ball with this string, and from what I found, I haven't found that there's much power to it either. So that's where you can really kind of see the difference with it. Synthetic gut, in my opinion, and the way I kind of describe it, is just like you put this into your racket if you're just trying to see how the racket's going to play. If you're just testing a few different rackets and you just want to see what the racket can do on its own with your specific game style without having the string be too much of a factor, that's where synthetic gut comes in. Or if you need a cheap quick fix to get put into your racket and not have to worry about it just to get something in there, that's where synthetic gut can take the cake. And that's because you can do that because of the lower price point, not really have to worry about it too much, but you're going to be most likely restringing quicker and more often because the string isn't that durable and tends to lose its life a little bit more because you've just beaten the tension out of it from playing with it. Even if you don't play with it that much. And that's why down here I have it that synthetic gut typically you'll find is more so with the beginner to the intermediate level of play. You can still use synthetic gut at a high level, but if you're using a lot of topspin or if you've been playing for a while and you're used to a polyester, you're going to be breaking synthetic gut very quickly. I know one guy, I've been friends with him, he's about to go off to play college. If he plays with syn gut, he'll break it in like 5 hits. And so with that, it's just like, it's not worth it for him. He's at too high of a level and his game is at too high of a level to where if he were to use it, it just doesn't make sense. He needs to look for something else. And that's where we can start to look at multi-filaments. Now, multi-filaments, these are going to be quite a bit different. They are going to be more on the expensive side, especially depending on which one you look at. You have multi-filaments from $9.95. Sometimes you can find them a little bit cheaper if they're on sale, or all the way up to $22 in the US here, especially if they're not on sale or they're full price. Usually you can find strings like Wilson NXT or Tecnifiber X1 biphase in this $22 category or around that price. And then down here at the $9.95, you can usually find some things like sometimes head velocity will go on sale. It'll go down around $9.95. It's usually, I believe it's about $10.95 and normally. And then Wilson Sensation as an easy one to name off the top of my head. That one's usually about $11 or $12 per pack. So with multifilaments, these are going to be easier on the arm. If you've had tennis elbow or anything like that, you may want to look into a multifilament string, so that way the string is stopping a little bit more of the impact from coming back to your arm before it gets to you. So that way the string is going to be a little bit easier on your arm, as well as because it is a softer string, not only is it helping to reduce the vibration that's coming back to your arm, it is going to hold tension a little bit better than actual synthetic gut will. The multi-filament strings here, these are just going to be that you can have these in your racket for quite a long time and still have it be very easy on your arm, just because of how soft the material is used for multi-filaments, especially comparing it to synthetic gut. Now, you shouldn't do what I did. I just kind of like forgot it was in there for a while, and I just haven't used the racket in a long time. But I have a pack of multi-filament strings that is in one of my rackets right now. The string's been in that racket for a few years now, and I'm not saying to ever do that. Please don't do that. I was just lazy and I forgot, and I played with it recently. It's still not hurting my arm. At the same time, though, I should definitely get it restrung, just because the playability of it, the feel of it, it's gone. It's just gone. You don't get much feeling out of it. It's just there to be in there. It's not doing anything. But all of that to say, restring your racket at least a few times within a year. Don't be stupid like I was and just keep it in there for so long that it's been in there for years and you don't get any playability out of it. Now you're just like, great, this is kind of useless right now. So with that being said, multifilaments will tend to hold tension quite a bit well, but they do also help to put a lot more power onto the ball as well, because they are a softer string. That is something that I have noticed just from playing with multifilaments. Anytime I'm hitting with one, or if I have it in a hybrid setup, it does tend to help just propel the ball forward, give it a little bit more of an easy time, just reflecting back the power of my opponent's shot to them. You do have to be a little bit careful if you're playing someone that uses a lot more pace than you're used to. The multifilaments can sometimes get a little bit too, they'll get a little bit too sporadic, to where if you're playing someone that has a harder shot coming at you and you're using a multifilament and you're not used to that, it's going to be a little bit harder to redirect the ball, because you're not getting the most control out of this string. You're getting more of an easy comfort feel, almost like a natural gut, but like a more inexpensive version of natural gut and not the same playability. But you're also getting something that's going to work well for you. Not as much control though, especially comparing it to a polyester, even though we're comparing synthetic guts. I had to bring it in there just a little bit. That's all I'm going to say about them. That'll be a different video one day. But multifilaments, these things do very well, especially getting rid of arm issues, playing well. You can also string these a little bit tighter in your racket if you are looking for that more control feel, just because they're soft enough to where even if you go a little bit tighter in your tension range, it's not necessarily going to be that much of a problem, just because the string is so soft, and to make sure that your arm is not going to get hurt. These ones would do fine for that. And that's why down here I have the multifilaments at a beginner to a higher level of play. You can use multifilaments, in my opinion, in a lot more different ways than synthetic gut, just because they're softer. They have a little bit more ability to be more durable than actual synthetic gut, just because some of them have a little bit more of a coating on them to make them more durable. But you have a lot of different options as well. You have 16 gauge, 17 gauge. I think some of them, maybe even Technofiber, the X1 biphase I mentioned, that one might even be an 18 gauge. So you have a lot of different gauge options to go with for multifilaments, as well as you can just use them at a higher level, especially if you're using them, whether it be as a full bed or as a hybrid with a polyester. They just tend to do very well compared to synthetic gut, which, like I said, is just kind of in there if you're wanting to get something in your racket that's cheap. It's not necessarily going to be the best thing in the world, but there are some people that absolutely love a full bed of synthetic gut, and to you I was like, great, that works best for you. I'm glad you found it. That's awesome that it works. For some people though, it's just going to break too quickly and it's not going to have the same amount of feel. They don't want to restring it every week or every other week because the feeling on the string has gone dead. That's where multifilaments can come in. They will last usually a little bit longer. Again, depends on your play style and how much spin you're putting onto the ball. But typically, compared to synthetic guts, multifilaments have a longer life. They hold tension better, a little bit easier on the arm, a little bit more power, and you can use them in a little bit more scenarios. So if you're just starting out and you don't know what to get, I'd say look towards synthetic gut just to see what the racket's going to do for you. But if you've been playing for a while, or if you want something that's going to be a little bit of the step up from the synthetic gut, definitely look towards the multifilament, in my opinion. That way you can see what's going on and make sure that everything's all good before you get out there and maybe start your new season or something like that, to where you'd have to try and adjust mid-season or keep getting restrung because your string keeps breaking because you're breaking syn gut every other week, or every week for that matter. So with that being said, that's all I got for these two, synthetic gut versus multifilament. If you have any more questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll get back to them as soon as I can. If you like the video, leave a like on it. And if you did enjoy, subscribe to the channel so that we can grow the channel and get the information out there from the people that have it to the people that need it. There's a lot of tennis misinformation in the tennis community, so I took it upon myself to make this channel so that we can get rid of that and get the information out there from the people that have it to the people that need it. And as always, take care.